Where's the love? Where's the love?
Okay, alright. Happy times. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Thank you for watching. Album review time on the Needle Drop. Chelsea Wolfe. This woman is a singer-songwriter who I admittedly unfairly categorized, unfairly grouped into this new wave of dark wave, gothic rock, and maybe even like witch house bands. I slept on her first album, and I was going to do the same with this album, but then some comments and suggestions really made me want to listen to it really deep, give it a deep listen, and just see what comes out. I was streaming some of it on NPR Music, and it didn't take long for me to find out that I actually loved what I was hearing. The title of this album is in Greek, and the word apocalypse actually descended from this word, but in Greek it translates roughly to revelation, which can be just as cataclysmic as an apocalypse if you're interpreting it from a biblical standpoint. It's not like I really get a religious vibe from this album, but considering some of the song titles on here, there's definitely something spiritual going on. There's something just kind of otherworldly about it. This thing soaks in its own atmosphere, and atmosphere is the key word because this album is a little drenched in reverb, which is kind of something a lot of bands are way too addicted to these days. Reverb is kind of like becoming the duct tape of studio recording, like, oh, does your song sound like crap? Throw some reverb on it. But the reverb itself isn't bad, it's just finding out that there's not really anything behind the reverb. On this album, everything that you would want in a good song is behind the reverb. Some solid playing, a simple foundation of guitars, drums, vocals, and some organ here and there, and various noises and effects popping up like I'm in a haunted house, kind of. There were actually some tracks on here where I was hearing reversed guitars and just weird wailing in the background, and I just could not figure out how some of these sounds were being made. It's that kind of out there. Now, this LP is incredibly consistent in its style. It's always spiraling downwards into a hellish pit of confusion and ominousness. There are all sorts of cobwebs everywhere, snakes, speaking in tongues almost, just freaky shit. But what I love about Chelsea Wolfe and this album is that this album approaches darkness with a lot of different flavors. Sure, every track is just kind of covered in the same reverb, has roughly the same mixing and instrumentation. Chelsea's voice is always present, but some moments on here in the vocals and the simple guitar and drum foundation remind me of PJ Harvey. The track Demons on here, the pace and the rhythm of the drums and the guitar really reminds me of like Sonic Youth. There's a little bit of vocal phrasing and rhythm on the last track that really reminds me of Portishead. After listening to this album a bunch of times, I'm absolutely sure that Chelsea is at least a little bit into Nick Cave, and this might be a stretch for some people, but considering how long and kind of doomy some of these guitar riffs are, some of the slow, sludgy paces of this album, I'm thinking a little bit of Earth, or at least doom metal as a genre, going back to Black Sabbath. There's an ambient soundscape on the 9th track. Chelsea obviously has a lot of influences, but what I like is that she brings these influences out without drowning in them. She doesn't just become the artists she listens to. She takes those sounds and molds them to the direction that this album is moving in. Out of all the different things Chelsea tries on this album, I'm not really finding a weak spot on here. I mean, yeah, the 24-second intro where she's kind of doing these black metal growls, and the ambient soundscape on here were both a little bit of a surprise, but shorter and more straightforward tracks on here like Myrrh to me felt just as entertaining as songs that come on a lot slower, like The Wasteland, which just starts off quiet and slowly becomes this bigger shimmering wall of sound that I feel like I could just swim in and die. This album kind of shifts into a lot of different gears from beginning to end between these 10 tracks, but it all adds up to a really nice, moody ride, kind of narrated by Chelsea Wolfe's voice, which is kind of just punctuating the darkness of this album and just giving it meaning, giving it direction. I love the flow of this album too. It doesn't just feel like a collection of songs. I have to kind of listen to this thing from beginning to end to really get the full effect of it. It feels like kind of a sculpture, kind of like a rebuild of Pandora's box, and I just want to open it again and again. If you're looking for some pitch black rock music with a lot of atmosphere around it and a pretty strong female vocal, this is where you want to be. I'm feeling a decent to strong 8 on this thing. This was nice. This was a nice surprise for me. But let me know what you think about this thing if you've heard it. Love it? Hate it? Why? And what do you think I should review next? Hope you're doing well. Anthony Fantano, Chelsea Wolfe, forever. I want to say thank you to everybody who actually went on that South by Southwest panel picker page that I brought up in an earlier video and voted that thing up. It means a lot. Thank you for the support. Thank you for trying to get TND to South by Southwest in 2012. It means a lot. Spreading the TND gospel. Gotta do it. I appreciate it. Thank you.